Hello and welcome to my channel. Sylvie here from Sylvie Stamps, and today we are making this Z-fold card. I really like the way it just adds that little extra interest. So let me show you some of the other cards that I've made along this line. This was actually the original one that I received as a swap. That was my inspiration, but I don't have that stamp set, I don't have that paper, so I came up with this one instead. And then I also tried it with Balmy Blue and Night of Navy and a little pop of Granny Apple Green. And then I tried it also with Grapefruit Grove, like that, and Mossy Meadow. Okay, but today we are making this one. And there's another way to do the flower. We're going to stamp the flower, but you can also use the Stampin' Blends instead. So it's just a little different look, but it's quite pretty as well. So we are going to go through all the supplies, but before I do that, make sure that you subscribe to my channel and click on the bell to make sure that you get notified every time I upload a new video. So what do we need? Well, first of all, we're going to be using the Two Wild Rose stamp set. And so we're going to use the flower here, and we're going to use also this set of leaves here. And I really like that set. It's a photopolymer set, and there's a number of greetings and whatnot that is really nice. And like I said, with the flower there, you can do different techniques with it, which is really nice. Then for ink, we're going to use Mossy Meadow and Petal Pink. And for cardstock, we are going to use a piece of Mossy Meadow that is 4 1/4 by 11, and I've scored it at 5 1/2 and again at 2 3/4. And then here I embossed it with the Layered Leaves 3D embossing folder. So the way I did it is I just placed my cardstock just this way, just the part I wanted, and then did my regular sandwich and run it through my die cutting and embossing machine. So just per normal, just only putting this part into the folder so that only this part is dry embossed with the Layered Leaves folder. Okay, and that's all. That's all the supplies we need. So let's get started on the card. Let's put that aside for a minute. So first of all, we're going to fold it, and I like to use a bone folder when we use fancy folds like that to make sure that it's nice and crisp fold. Okay, and then we are going to use I forgot to, okay, I mentioned that and I got distracted. There we go. We also have a piece of designer series paper that measures 4 by 5 1/4. This one is part of the Sailing Home designer series paper. And a piece of Petal Pink cardstock that is 3 inches by 9 inches, and I've scored it at 3 inches so that we have 3 squares, 3 inches by 3 inches. And then some Whisper White cardstock that is 2 3/4 square. And I have 4 pieces here so that I can do second generation stamping. We'll see how that goes. I'll explain why I have 4 here. All right, so now we can assemble it together. You can see there's little sailboats on the back of this designer series paper. But we're not worried about sailboat today. We just want the Mossy Meadow side. And we're just going to glue it on the back of the card here. Just like so. And make sure that there's a good bond. Okay. And I've folded my card base already. And then I'm going to take my Petal Pink and fold it in a Z. Just like that. Same as this one. See, it's in a Z. And this one is in a Z as well. And just making sure that all the corners are together. And again, using my bone folder for nice and crisp folds. All right, so let's put this aside for now and now do some stamping. So I'm going to bring in 2 of the Whisper White cardstock, and we're going to use our Petal Pink. So this stamp is a distinctive stamp, and actually I have a whole video on how to properly ink the distinctive stamp set. You may want to look it up. But basically, you don't want to have too much ink on it. So, in order to do that, you need to push the ink down, and you can use a bone folder, or you can use, I've used a spoon, and I have used Let me grab a spoon here. So I use a plastic spoon, or you can also use an old gift card or something like that as well. So what you do is you press down like that so that the ink is pushed down into the ink pad, and you don't have nearly as much on the surface. It's still there, but just not available on the surface. And then you ink your stamp normally, and looking at it, if you see there's ink but no bubbles, that's exactly what you want. Okay, so I'm going to stamp here, and I'm going to do a second generation stamping because I think I want it a little bit lighter. Sometimes it gets too light, so we'll see. Okay, and then we're going to take the other part of the flower, the other stamp, and just ink it normally and line it up here. So I've put that little black mark, and then I use this big petal, the black mark and the big petal, and that way I kind of know. And then without inking, I'm going to stamp it here, and we'll see if we like that or not. All right, we'll see which flower we like best. Okay, so it's really pale this time, so I think we will use this one. So let's use now the, so for the line, we're going to use the Mossy Meadow ink pad and put our black line at the top like it was, and this petal here, that is kind of my, all right, okay, I think we're good at, there we go, all right. It's a little bit off, but I think we'll be okay with that. Let's try with this one, with the second stamping, and we'll second generation stamping, and we'll see what we get. Might be just too pale this time. Yeah, I think it's too pale. Okay, but that's what I did for the Grapefruit Groove is second generation, and it looked really good. So it depends a little bit on how much ink, you know, is available in your ink pad, the color you're using. So I always test the distinctive stamp sets need to be tested pretty much every time that you stamp, because it's going to be a little bit different every time. All right, so we have that. We can glue that one actually to this part of the petal pink piece of cardstock. It will go right here. So what I've done is I've left it in the Z form so I know which one it is, and then make sure that it's a good bond. Okay, then for the inside here, we are going to use one of the leaves, and I'm going to put a piece of paper underneath. Okay, well, let's leave that aside here. And then we are going to use again the Mossy Meadow ink pad. Now, you know what, with this one, for the line art it didn't matter, but for the leaves it does matter. So I am going to push the ink down so that I can see all the details on my leaves. Otherwise it might get all muddled with too much ink. There we go, that's better. See, I can see there's ink, it's covered, but there's no, I don't know if you can see on the camera, there's no bubbles there. And that's exactly what we want. So we're going to do it something like this, so that we still have lots of room. See, lots of room for the message and whatnot. You can see the details on these stamps are amazing. So if you have just the right amount of ink, that's what you get, which is very, very beautiful. All right, then let's close our ink pad, and then we're going to glue that to the other part of the Z. So I have my front here, and this part here is where I want this square of Whisper White with the leaves. All right, give it a good bond there. All right, and then now we want to attach it to our card. Now, before we attach it, I want to make sure also that you know that I have a mailing list that you can join at bit.ly/listemboss, and every week I send a tutorial as well as some tips and whatnot. You know about the Stampin' Up promotions, all that kind of stuff. It's a way to stay in touch. So make sure that you subscribe to my mailing list, and so we can stay in touch that way as well. Whether I post on YouTube or not, you get some updates. All right, so now we'll attach this. So I'm going to put some, so this is the back of this one. I'm going to put some adhesive here. And the way I like to do it is I close it like that, sort of, kind of slide that where it's going to be. And I'm kind of lining it up. Oops, let's move a little more in the center of the camera. Okay, there we go. Something like that. Okay, again, give it a good bond. And then I want to attach this part to here. So you can see here, I don't want adhesive here. I want it only on this part here. So I'm going to put one row here and one row here of snail, and then close it. Okay, and then give it a good bond again. And why don't we add some bling to this card here? Let's use some basic rhinestones. We'll put them in the center here just to add a little bit of sparkle to the flower here. Have you subscribed to the channel yet while I fiddle with these rhinestones? There we go. Let's put a third one right here. Here we go. Okay, and you have a beautiful card where you can write your message here, or you can write your message on the back here. Either way, it will be beautiful and someone will appreciate receiving it. So we will see you again soon. Bye bye for now.